Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me? Okay, great. Hi, I'm Jane Vilders. I'm the current president of the League of Women Voters of Skagit County. And I'd like to welcome you all here to tonight's candidate forum for Skagit County Commissioner District 3. The League of Women, excuse me, the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization. We do not support or oppose candidates or political parties. Part of our mission, and a huge part of our mission, is to encourage the informed and active participation of all citizens in government. This forum is part of our ongoing voter education efforts to help voters make informed decisions at the upcoming elections. We hope that over the course of this program, you will learn more about the candidates and what they hope to accomplish when elected. A few little housekeeping things. This forum is being recorded, so you can go back and view it again, tell your friends about it, and it will be available on our website. You can also check our website for recordings for other races that impact Skagit County voters. If you want to know more about races, we have this little document at the back called At a Glance, and it has our website URL on it, and you can easily go there and check out the different interviews and forums that are occurring in other leagues around the state. In addition, on our website, you will also find a link to the interviews for the state Supreme Court judge positions. So primary ballots are due on August 4th, which you can submit either by the U.S. mail or by ballot boxes. Please note that if you choose to use the mail, the United States Postal Service recommends that you mail your ballot at least 7 days in advance of the deadline. So that would be July 28th. Ballot boxes are located around Skagit County communities, and the locations are listed on the Skagit County Elections website. Now I'm going to turn the forum over to Denise Sakuma, our moderator for this evening.
Thanks, Jane. So now I'm going to explain the ground rules for the forum, which all of the candidates have agreed to follow. So first, each candidate will have 1.5 minutes for their opening and closing statements, as well as their responses to each of the questions. We'll rotate the order of responses by candidate, starting with alphabetically and proceeding from there. Timekeepers are sitting in the front here. They will hold up a card for 30 seconds remaining and 10 seconds remaining. Please stop when you see the stop card. If you continue speaking after that, I will say thank you and then move on to the next candidate. We expect responses to be respectful, and please do not direct any questions at other candidates. For the audience, please turn off your cell phones and do not record the candidates. Remain quiet throughout the forum, but we will have an opportunity to clap for everyone after all the closing statements are complete. No campaign literature or signs are allowed in this room. So now we will begin with opening statements. You each have 1.5 minutes, and we'll begin with Joe Burns.
When families face rising costs, they have to decide what comes first, and county government should do the same. Since being appointed as your county commissioner earlier this year, that's exactly what we've been doing. We've asked every department to evaluate every service using a 3-tier priority system. First, the services we're legally required to provide. Second, the critical services our community depends on every day. And third, the services that enhance our quality of life. That helps us protect the essentials while making responsible decisions about next year's budget. I believe government works best when it's practical, transparent, and focused on the people it's here to serve. That's why this week we launched a new online budget portal so every resident can see how county dollars are being spent. I want county government to be transparent and accessible as possible because the public deserves to know how their money is spent. We're also protecting what makes Skagit County special, preserving farmland, strengthening public safety through behavioral health treatment, preparing for floods and emergencies, and making sure our children can afford to build their future right here at home. Everything we do comes back to one simple question: what kind of community are we leaving for our kids? I believe we're making progress, and I'd be honored to continue the work with your support. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for putting on this event.
Thank you. Connie Cryer?
Hi, I'm Connie Cryer. My husband was raised here on the Benson farm, and we chose to make Sedro-Woolley our home because this is where our roots are, and we're building our future here. For more than 25 years, I've worked as a board-certified safety professional, protecting people, businesses, and the environment by solving complex problems and managing risk. I've also owned my own small business and worked alongside my family through the challenges of the 2021 and 2025 floods on the farm. Over the last several months, I have met with families, farmers, business owners, and residents across District 3. Their concerns may be different, but the message has been remarkably consistent. People want a county government that listens, is accountable, and focuses on solving problems instead of creating more of them. Whether I'm protecting workers, helping businesses manage risk, or listening to families across District 3, one lesson keeps proving itself. The quality of our decisions depends on the quality of our questions. Are we solving the right problem? Are we focused on what county government can actually control? Are we preparing for tomorrow instead of simply reacting to yesterday? Are we being good stewards of taxpayers' trust? Long after tonight is over, you may not remember every answer you hear. My hope is that you will remember the questions I'll ask before making decisions that affect your family, your business, and your future. If that's the kind of leadership you're looking for, I'd be honored to earn your trust and your vote. And I look forward to our conversation tonight.
Thank you. Keith Wagner?
Good evening, everybody. I appreciate you coming to hear all of us speak. And it's very important what you're doing today because you are helping to choose what is the most important elected office in Skagit County. And like any critical position, whether it's a physician who's going to operate on you or a pilot that's flying with passengers on board, you want the most capable and experienced person in that critical position. I submit to you that by any objective standard, I am that candidate. I hope you grab a flyer from the back of the room or go to my website and look at the rest of my biography and my platform. I'm the candidate that grew up here. I'm the candidate that went to school here and graduated here in Skagit County. I worked in the fields picking raspberries, strawberries, working on the potato rigs and driving pea viners. And when I went away to the Naval Academy, graduated, served in the Marine Corps and the United States Navy for 23 years as a helicopter pilot, my wife and I came back to Skagit because we wanted to raise our children in the best place possible. I will work to preserve our rural and small town culture, to keep us safe, and to lower the cost of living here. If you believe real experience, real leadership, and real accomplishments are important, I ask for your vote. I've been proud of my contributions, but I'm actually more grateful that I have been able to serve you all these years. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to the question and answer portion of the forum. You each have 1.5 minutes to respond to each question. Question number 1. We'll begin with Connie Cryer. This is one of 3 county commissioner positions in Skagit. What is your strategy for working through disagreement to collaboration with colleagues and community members?
So conflict seems to be everywhere these days. It can be really, really stressful for people. Our political system often divides us on nearly every issue. Even if we agree on what we want for an outcome, we still disagree on how we can achieve it. Often conflict occurs when people feel like they're not being heard or their needs are not being met. Conflict is one of the ways that we discover what real problems are. People tend to avoid conflict because it's uncomfortable. They smooth things over, they appease people, they make another rule in hopes that the problem will go away. But conflict, by making conflict disappear, it does not mean that we've solved the problem. I see this every day in the work that I do. I spend my career solving complex problems, and many of those problems involve conflict in one form or another. I'm going to lean into the difficult conversations, listen for the unmet needs, and hear uncomfortable truths in order to specifically name them and the problem that we're trying to solve. Because how can we solve problems if we're unwilling to understand them? Solving problems doesn't have to be about assigning blame. We gather the necessary information, properly define the problem, and find the practical solutions, because there's usually more than one way to solve a problem. Good government doesn't silence disagreement. It creates a process people trust, where voices are heard and real problems get solved. Conflict is not always the problem. Sometimes conflict is how we solve the problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keith Wagner?
So resolving conflict is really about leadership. I went to a leadership school. My entire career was about leadership. My master's degree is in leadership. But that's technical stuff. I'll give you a real-world example. When I was sitting in that chair as mayor and we were trying to resolve our library conflict, the city library versus the county's library, I was the one who had the vision and the resolve and brought everybody together, the groups that did not trust each other on either side, who worried about control and money and whether people were going to be fired or not and whether the collection was going to be destroyed or not. I was the one who sat in that seat in front of a room way fuller than this and resolved that problem. We had multiple meetings with the community involved and we brought people together. And today, despite all the accusations, and believe me, I was taking them, the newspaper printed day after day false accusations comparing me to Mao and Stalin and calling me the part-time prince of Sedro-Woolley, and the library was going to be a disaster. What do we have today? The result of a resolved conflict that I facilitated. That's just one example. I'm a professional leader, and that's what it takes to resolve conflict: leadership and courage.
Thank you. Joe Burns?
The job of elected officials is to have the difficult conversations, to negotiate with one another, to find common ground, and to build a consensus that we can all move forward with as a community. Those are the things that I value in leadership. Making sure that I'm not pulling one over on someone, but actually winning them over, or finding a way that we can put our ideas together to make them better. You know, in the commissioner's office right now, just like on this platform, there is a Democrat, an independent, and a Republican. You'd think the end of that sentence was walk into a bar, because right now, we do not hear those 3 groups of people getting along very well in politics. But we do. We are civil with one another in our meetings. We talk through our disagreements. We find a way to help our community, because there's one thing no matter what we always agree on. We love Skagit County. We want the people to succeed. We want to protect this place and make sure that we are passing on something to our kids that is worth having. I can promise you that I will always, in good faith, work with the other county commissioners to ensure that I am doing the absolute best we can for Skagit County. That is what I've done every day I've been in that office. Every day I sat here as a city council member, I always made sure that I did what I could to help the people, because that's what this job is. I was an auto mechanic. I was in the automotive industry for 20 years. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you. Question number 2. Washington State ranks 50th in farm profitability according to the USDA Economic Research Service. As a Skagit County Commissioner, what specific actions would you take to strengthen the long-term economic viability of agriculture while balancing the county's other responsibilities and priorities? We'll start with Keith Wagner.
Thank you. Well, I happen to sit on the Ag and Natural Resources Committee, and I've been endorsed by the Washington State Farm Bureau because of the support that I've already given to farmers across the state. When the state tried to impose mandatory setbacks on our farmland here in Skagit County, I was the first to raise the alarm that raised enough resistance to that bill finally failed. It was called the Lorraine-Loomis Act. What we have in Skagit County is valuable, and we have to preserve it at all costs. I work in Olympia with the folks that make the decisions up here. I work in a minority. It's 30-19 in the Senate, so I don't often get my way. But I work across the aisle, and I want to give you an example of how I get things done. In my almost decade down there, I've passed 26 bills that have been signed into law by the governor. 26 bills as a member of the minority. That is a rare accomplishment. So my ability to work across the aisle and get things done in Olympia will be mirrored up here. In Skagit County, one of the things that we have to fight back on is agricultural overtime bill that was passed. Hundreds of our workers went to Olympia to protest their own overtime because they actually make less money with the mandatory overtime. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe Burns?
We're not going to get any more farmland in Skagit County. That's why we have to make sure that we watch how our code is enforced, how we allow land to be used. It's very important, and Skagit County commissioners get to decide what is done on specific plots of land in this county. That's why we protect farmland. The Farmland Legacy Program is a spectacular way for property owners to put their land into the Farmland Legacy Program to ensure that it cannot be used for a different purpose. It will not become a housing development. It will not become a battery storage facility. It will be farmland forever. And that is something that I have supported in my time as a county commissioner. In the 6 months I have been in office, we have already preserved 150 acres of farmland, and I will continue to do that. We have to push for more water rights so that farmers have the ability to irrigate. Right now, they're relying on the PUD to provide them with water year to year, and that is not something that can be relied on long term, not because of the PUD, but because there won't be enough water if the population grows, if businesses come in that start consuming that water, and then the farmers will be left with dry fields. How long will they be able to stay afloat then? Small family farmers are already struggling. We have to do what we can to help give them better opportunity to succeed. Thank you.
Thank you. Connie Cryer?
Thank you. We're feeling more and more like our local communities here have little control over all the things that affect us all the time. I hear that a lot, whether it's the growth management plan, energy companies, gas prices. A lot of things affect our farmers. As county commissioner, my approach is simple. We can work on what we can control. That means asking the right questions. What barriers are facing our farmers? Where are the gaps in the workforce and the housing services? And what can we realistically do without creating additional burdens on our taxpayers? I hear a lot of people saying what we're gonna do, and listening doesn't seem to be one of them. I hear every day from businesses about labor shortages and rising costs, and challenges facing our farmers and ranchers are very similar. They come from all different aspects, not just one. I expect that our federal representation is going to understand this and these challenges and work towards solving them. And with a full 105-day legislative session ahead of us, I would expect that our state legislators are coming prepared to Olympia with real state-level solutions that will support our agricultural workforce. We may not control federal or state policies, but what we do control is how we respond as a county. We can listen, we can advocate, and we can support our farmers, protect our communities, and solve problems that that are actually within our reach. Thank you.
Thank you. Question 3. What are your priorities for the Clean Energy Advisory Group, which will look at solar energy, battery storage, and renewable fuels? We'll begin with Joe Burns.
As I said with farmland, we have to be cautious what we do with the land we have in Skagit County. According to the federal government and the state government, we have a special place here. The Skagit River is one of the few that has all 5 species of salmon on the west coast. We have declining numbers in some of those species, and we have to make sure that we are protecting them. When we're looking at how we develop our energy grid, how we look at our future, we have to make all of our choices very carefully. I see things like solar as a great opportunity for us to help expand our ability to increase the energy that we have here and lower our energy prices, whereas nuclear is not an option I want to see in Skagit County. I've opposed a battery energy storage facility that's proposed to be right outside of Sedro-Woolley. 2 weeks ago, the company approached me. They wanted to have a meeting. I sat down and talked with them about what they were planning on doing and told them that we don't want them to build here. They tried telling me how great their program was and what they were going to do to help protect Skagit County. I made it clear to them, I do not trust their corporation, and I want to see what they are saying in writing. They promised me they'd do it. It's been 2 weeks and I haven't gotten it. So I want to make sure that when we are making proposals, we are not just going off platitudes from corporations, we are going off hard scientific data, and that we are making carefully planned decisions.
Thank you. Connie Cryer?
Well, I know from being the president of the Stewards of Skagit that fire and life safety and emergency management and community protection are the top concerns of our citizens when it comes to new energy projects. The question isn't whether Skagit County should plan for future projects. The question is whether the public can trust the process to make those decisions that affect their lives. Did we ask whether we included expertise needed to evaluate the whole picture for the board? Did we ask whether the community would trust the process when the decision was finished? Did we consider feedback before forming the stakeholders' positions? Those are questions I believe good leadership should be asking first. When a process is intended to build public confidence, it should include a balanced range of perspectives. I believe fire districts, emergency management, industrial safety, and public safety should have been included as part of the conversation along with our PUD, and none of those were included in this conversation. My concern, whether the process gave the public confidence that every important perspective will be heard. When reasonable questions about representation and expertise goes unanswered, trust in the process begins to erode. Calling something clean energy does not take into account its life cycle and the environmental concerns or whether it is safe for the people or good for our community. We must provide meaningful participation, not just talking sessions where we tell people what will happen.
Thank you. Keith Wagner?
Thank you. So the advisory group you talked about, I'm a little cautious of it. First of all, good for Skagit County for getting some of that Climate Commitment Act money that is the reason your fuel is 50 cents higher per gallon. So it's not really going to stop pollution, it's going to fund groups. But good for Skagit for getting their piece of the pork. I agree with Connie. It's very important that we have the right people on that advisory group. And I've looked at the criteria. I think some of the right people are there, but we need to have people that have policy expertise and technical expertise making those decisions instead of making decisions based on emotions. So we need to get a very clear look at who makes up that advisory group, or it's going to be a disaster. I happen to be the co-chair of the Hydrogen and Clean Energy Caucus in Olympia. There's a lot of difference out there. Joe talked about BESS and the lithium-ion batteries. I think all three of us agree that is a terrible idea, but there's good technology out there that could be a key to helping Skagit get more energy and be part of the solution. One of those is hydrogen. For example, if hydrogen catches on fire, it goes poof and it's water. If a lithium-ion battery storage system catches on fire, it's pollution that lasts forever in our water stream, near our schools, and on our farmland. I've spoken to the governor personally about rejecting the best facility.
Thank you. Question number 4. What 2 to 3 actions would you take to address housing and food insecurity in the county? We'll begin with Connie Cryer.
So housing and food insecurity, that's not just a statistic to me. Like, as a child, I learned how to hunt and fish and clam dig and split firewood like a lot of people around here. It's not just a hobby, though. That's how our family filled the freezer and got through the winters. You know, meat's expensive at the grocery store, honestly, and I don't think I even knew where the thermostat was in my house as a child. So right now, many people in our community are living paycheck to paycheck. Young families, families with medical bills, our seniors. Sometimes it's not years of bad decisions that cause need. Sometimes it's one medical emergency, one unexpected repair, or one missed paycheck that can turn a family's life upside down. In my career, one of the things that we learn is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Before people can thrive, they need basic needs met: food, shelter, safety, and security, and this includes financial security. So my approach is this: before the government tries to solve any problems, it should be making sure it is not making the problem worse. That means looking at permitting and cost delays and making sure budget is focused on measurable results and asking whether our taxpayer dollars are actually helping people move towards stable, independent lives. Government should not operate from a to-do list. It should operate through continuous improvement, asking questions and fixing things as we go. The success of government shouldn't be measured on how much money we're spending. It should be measured by how many people are no longer needing us.
Thank you. Keith Wagner.
Thank you. So, 2 separate topics, housing and food, but they're related. The economy in Washington State, we are one of the highest states cost-wise to live in the entire United States. That is the result of bad decisions made in Olympia, where I have a front row seat to see all of those things going down. There's not much you can do in the county to counteract those decisions, but what you can do is leverage the things that we have here. One of the very first things I did when I was a freshman in Olympia was bring money back to help finish the Helping Hands Food Bank. Those types of things are critical to people who are living at the edge. Now, when it comes to housing, again, one of the first bills I dropped was to reduce taxes on multifamily units so that places like Sedro-Woolley, who had buildings that could be used to house people at a market rate, would get a tax break and they would be incentivized. We need to lower the restrictions that stop people from wanting to invest and build in Washington State. And unfortunately, the state has been going the other way for a very long time. For example, rent control. Guess what's happening? Everybody's getting rid of their rentals and they're no longer going to be available. The things that we can do here in Skagit County, we need to do. We need to take away the regulatory steps that keep people from building here and investing here. And right now, we're losing that battle.
Thank you. Joe Burns.
We've all seen gas and diesel prices soaring lately, and we can't control what's happening at the federal level. We can't control what's happening at the state level. But we can control what's happening here in Skagit County, and we can work with our neighbors. Because realistically, if we build up the housing market here in Skagit County, people from the neighboring counties will move here. If they build it up, people will move away because families just want a life they can afford. Our population is increasing at a small rate compared to the rest of the state. And we need to do what we can to help ensure the people who live here can actually find a house here. That means working with other cities, working with the county's staff to try to make sure that we are as responsible as possible. And one of the things that I've seen at the county level as I've gotten into my seat is that they have a new software program that is not working as well as it could. It is not working as quickly as it can, and that we need to increase the staff who are actually processing the permits. Because the quicker we can get a permit out, the quicker that a house can be built. The longer that a builder sits waiting for a permit, the faster the price keeps going up because they are extended. They are waiting in order to finish that project so that your family, your kids can move into that home. We have to make sure that we are responsible with the resources we have, but that we actually get permits done quickly when they are legally allowed to be processed.
Thank you. Question number 5. Given the impact of the record flooding last December, how should the county prioritize preparing for, responding to, and recovering from future natural disasters? We'll begin with Keith Wagner.
Thank you. So first of all, I think the county did a fantastic job. I think the state and the county worked together as well as they could during that disaster. The problem is what happens after the emergency and everybody leaves. The state proved they could fix roads quickly under emergency restrictions where they got rid of their permitting requirements and they didn't have to deal with Fish and Wildlife or Department of Ecology to get things done. They proved it can be done. Now, as soon as they left, what are we left with? Now there's no more impetus to fix what needs fixing. We've got farms upriver that lost half an acre, 2 acres, 3 acres, and there's nothing that we can do about it. The county needs to, first of all, weigh in with the state in a stronger way. They don't care down there about Skagit County unless the county comes down and tells them en masse. You can tell me, I'm down there all day long explaining that the river, while it's important to us and our salmon are important to us, our people are more important. We have to give people priority. We have to give our farms priority so that we quit letting infrastructure be destroyed during a flood. We could have armored some of those roads. We knew they were going to be blown out. Washington State Department of Transportation knew they were going to be destroyed, but because of the regulatory structure, they're not allowed to prevent it. They can only fix them afterwards, and that's ridiculous.
Thank you. Joe Burns.
In my time in the commissioner's office, I've pushed for us to get better at the way we put out messaging. I'm pushing for us to change the website so that when you look up your property, it says right across the top if you're in the 100-year floodplain. I don't want you to struggle to find that information when there's a crisis happening. When you need to go, I want you to know if it's time to go. I want you to have good information. And so that's something I've been pushing to change. Overall, the county and the state did a good job with the initial response. The thing that has just been staggering to me is the amount of time it takes to fix anything. We have Jordan Creek got washed out around one of the bridges. I've been told that it will take 3 years just for the processing time for FEMA. 3 years for FEMA to actually process the application as we go through the process. We're able to put up a temporary bridge, but you would think that'd be up now. We're more than 6 months past the flood. We're still months from that happening. That's likely going to happen in September. We're going to put in a temporary bridge that will sit there for years before FEMA actually approves repairing it. Will it get washed out again before that happens? We have processes at the federal and state level that are not working for us here. But as a county, we can't control that like we wish we could. But what we can do is plan for the future. We can work with local communities to do our absolute best to help them whenever possible. People off Bacchus Creek were flooded during this event, and it was not normal for them to be flooded, so I've been working with them to ensure that they get the help that they need. Thank you.
Thank you. Connie Cryer.
It's nice to hear people talking about what a great job we did during the floods. When I was standing knee-deep in frozen cow manure, I didn't feel like they were doing a very good job. Flooding and emergency management are about far more than responding after disaster strikes. The worst time to discover that a weakness in your emergency plan is during an emergency. I've spent my entire career preparing for the worst. That's what I do every day. My job is to protect people, businesses, and the environment by identifying risks before they become tragedies. There's a reason businesses and insurance companies invest so heavily in prevention. They understand that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. The government should understand this as well. I believe emergency management has to become a continuous improvement process, not just an emergency response. After-action reviews should be done, showing what worked, what didn't work, and what improvements are being made, and that should be given to the citizens, not just told we did a good job. Have we been asking the right questions so that we can learn and improve from every emergency instead of repeating the same cycle over and over again. Because the only thing worse than bad news is surprise bad news. And that's why I will focus on what we can do and to make things better through a continuous improvement and accountability process. It should get better every year, not worse, you guys.
Thank you. That concludes the Q&A portion, so now we'll move into closing statements. You each have 1.5 minutes to tell us why we should hire you. We'll begin with Joe Burns.
For more than 20 years, I worked in the automotive industry. I've also had the privilege of serving on the Sedro-Woolley City Council and teaching high school auto shop. Last year, I was teaching students how to rebuild engines, and today I serve as your county commissioner. Naomi and I are raising 2 of our boys right here in Skagit County. Like so many parents, I know what it's like to work hard, come home exhausted, take care of the kids, and make every paycheck stretch a little further. Maybe that's why whenever I'm facing with a difficult decision, I always come back to a simple question. What kind of community are we leaving for our kids? That question guides every decision that I make. I want all of our kids and grandkids to have the opportunity to stay here, raise a family, and put down roots in the community we all love. I said this when I was appointed, and I still believe it today. We are not here to work for a political party or donors who helped elect us. We are here to represent everyone in our community. Thank you for being here tonight. I believe our best days are still ahead of us. And if we keep asking the right questions, keep working together, and keep putting people first, we can build an even stronger Skagit County. Let's leave our kids a community they are proud to call home. Thank you.
Thank you. Connie Cryer?
So first of all, I just want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum tonight, and for you guys for sharing, my fellow candidates for sharing your points of view, and all of you guys for being here and being informed voters. I really appreciate that. Tonight, you've heard us discuss some important issues, and while many of our answers might differ, I hope that you notice something different about mine. No matter what the topic was, I explained to you what my approach is going to be. I won't make decisions in isolation. I'll make decisions by listening to the people affected, asking the right questions, and gathering the facts and having the courage to make informed decisions. I believe good leadership begins by asking the right questions. Knowing what to ask comes from real-world experience, real conversations, and listening to people's concerns. A commissioner should be approachable and willing to listen and willing to ask the questions to uncover the root cause of problems. That's how we build practical, responsible solutions. Asking the right questions has guided my career for 25 years, and they'll guide every decision I make as commissioner. I'm not asking you to expect perfection. I'm asking you to expect transparency, to understand how decisions are being made and why they're being made, and how we'll continue to improve along the way. Because long after the campaign signs come down, what matters is the decisions that we're making. I believe the quality of those decisions depends on the quality of the questions that we have learned to ask. If you believe the county government should listen before it leads, I'd appreciate your vote.
Thank you. Keith Wagner?
Thank you. With me, you know what you're getting, because I've been in leadership for the past nearly 2 decades. I was on city council for 5 years, and I led from there. I was our representative on the jail council. I was the one that was sent to negotiate for Winnie Hauser Field with the neighbors on Sunic when they thought it was going to be a disaster. I got that done. When I was mayor, I got the library done. As your senator, I brought back more of your taxpayer dollars than any other 39th legislative district legislator in history. Tens of millions of dollars. The Swift Center wouldn't be here if it wasn't for me. The Star Center wouldn't be here if it wasn't for me. Ingberg Field, the football field, wouldn't be there if it wasn't for me. Jones-John Liner Road underpass, that's money I brought back from the Senate when there was no other transportation ad in the budget the entire year, not in the entire state. I did that to serve you. I brought money back for the food bank. I brought money back for the YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, local granges, PUD for fish passage, stabilization for slopes for the landslides up in Concrete, as well as improving their water treatment plant and daylighting some of their fish streams. I've brought back, just in the last 2 years, over $36 million of your taxpayer dollars, and I will keep doing that work as a county commissioner for you. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you to all of our candidates. Let's give them a round of applause.
Take some applause. Nice job, guys.
And thank you for everyone who came tonight to hear our candidates speak. Remember that ballots are due August 4th. If you plan to mail that ballot, get it in that mailbox by July 28th. Thank you.